Let's learn some Tanya. We're in Perek Gimel. Tanya, we just had an amazing experience yesterday, finishing the second Perek and understanding the depths of the Nefesh Elokis, the godly soul. The next few chapters, we're going to go and explain how your godly soul works. We're going into the anatomy of how the Nefesh Elokis, how the godly soul works, how it functions. Perek Gimel v'hinei. Kol bechinas hamadrega mishalosh elu. Nefesh, ruach, and neshama. These three levels of your godly soul, your nefesh, which is primarily the part of you that is invigorating your physical being, your ruach, which is your emotions and your ambition, your free will, is powerfully linked into ruach, and your neshama, which is your intellectual, abstract, godly soul powers. Klulim me'eser bechinas, are each one of them have 10 powers. Okay? So your godly soul's nefesh has 10 powers, your godly soul's ruach has 10 powers, and your godly soul's neshama has 10 powers. Keneged, and these are all corresponding to Eser Spheres Elyonos. These are all corresponding to the 10 spheres, the 10 spheres, the 10 qualities that God created. In order, what are the 10 spheres? The 10 spheres is the plan with which God created in order to create and run all the worlds. The 10 spheres is the plan with which God uses to create, run, and be involved with all the worlds, including all the spiritual worlds, Ein Nispar ve'Ein Kates, all the way down to this world, Asiya da Asiya, Mamish, a physical world. That's what the 10 spheres are. Now here's the cool news. Your soul is made up of those spheres. That's called your Tselem Elokim. And therefore this soul of yours can also create and run worlds based on your actions. That's what it means that you're made in the likeness of God. A giraffe does not have this. The giraffe's decisions are not creating and running all the spiritual universes, including the lowest of which is a physical world, our world here. But the actions of man, who's B'Tselem Elokim, the human, which is the crown jewel of creation, has this power. Okay? And with this power comes a tremendous achrayus, a tremendous responsibility. How does the 10 spheres, the Eser Spheres Elyonos, come down into my soul? So that's called Shenishtalshelu Mehem, because they come down, i.e., they're nishtalshel. The way that the spiritual worlds work, including the way that your neshama works, is that there is the Eser Spheres Elyonos, and it's nothing physical, it's conceptual, but the Sfarim use an imagery to help you understand. They come down like a chain link. Just like if you have a chain link, like someone was wearing a bracelet recently. A chain link. Right? Chain link. Where each of the links is attached to the one below it. And interesting to note, the lowest part of the upper link enters into the lower link. And the highest part of the lower link enters into the lowest part of the upper link. That has to do with how Malchus comes and is mashpia into Keter of the next chain. Okay? That is one long system coming all the way down. Yes, there's Rotz of V'Shoiv, there's Mata L'Mala, Mala Mata. They go up and down. But that's how the system comes, again, this is conceptual, not physical. The Esospheres L'Yonis come down through all of the Dargas and become koiches inside of us. So you have the powers, these 10 powers inside of you, which are our way that we can now create and run the world. That's why your decisions matter. It's not a simple thing a person says, I'm just going to have a Big Mac. Yeah. Whoa. That is going to create, or God forbid, destroy worlds. But when a person does tefillin, when a person does chesed, gives tzedakah, says Shema, davens, talks to God, connects to Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem, Yichud Hashem, gives his kid a bris milah, etc., guards the bris. Those are creating worlds. Okay? Selam Elokim. Elokim means Elokus, means the godly light. And Selam is the vessels that they come into. The 10 spheres are also called 10 vessels. The way that the Kabbalah Sfarim explain it, the Ramak, is these 10 spheres. Imagine you had a vessel that was a green vessel. And you put some water into the vessel. And you saw the vessel of water. What color would the water look like to you? Green. There's green water in here, Ma! Ew, green. She'd say, no, Johnny. The water's not green. It just looks green to you because it's in a green vessel. Nothing changed in the water. The spheres are like that. Nothing changed with the water. The water just went into vessels that give it a certain look and expression. I heard Ichimayer say like this beautifully, that the spheres are also like, they're revealing things that are inside the water. We're going to use light as the example, that in a certain way couldn't just be brought out unless you had a vessel for it to go into. For example, God is compared to just light. So like we explained, it's like going to the sun, you'd be burned up. So God takes that light and he puts it through the spheres that we could relate to it. You ever see the way that light goes through a crystal? Like a crystal vase? What happens to the light? And it separates and all these colors come out. Like, where did those colors come? I didn't see that in the original light. The answer was, it was there, but it was hiding. The sphere in a certain way reveals what was there that we can relate to it. By the way, these are things you're going to be meditating on for your entire life, and you're going to be learning these topics for eternity in the world to come. We're just like it's like the appetizers of a very, very long journey of learning Pnimiyus HaTorah, which is all of Olam Haba is just going deeper and deeper into these topics. Okay? Hanechlokos l'shtayim, that are split up into two main categories. We're explaining your soul. Shen shalish imois, which are called the three mothers. By the way, these correspond to letters in the alphabet. The Shevak Fulois, and the 7 doubles. The doubles mean the letters that you could put a dogesh in. Sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's soft. Like bays or vays. What's harder of a letter? A bays or a vays? Not just because I said it softer. Bays, vays. The bays is harder. It has a dogesh. It's strong. That's called a strong expression of the midah. Perish. What does this mean? Chachma bina v'das. Chachma bina v'das. That's the shalish imois. Why is it called imois? Because imois, mothers give birth to children. not fathers. I know I seem to be talking about that recently because it seems that a large part of humanity doesn't understand that currently. That mothers give birth to children and not fathers. I mean, bear the child. And it's very important that we just remember to be logical human beings and rational human beings. And just because the media is saying something doesn't mean that it made it true all of a sudden. And therefore it's very important that we continue to think in rational and logical ways. So the three mothers at Chacham Bin Adas, the 7 doubles. So perish Chacham Bin Adas v'Sheva Yemei HaBinyan, and the 7 days of building. That corresponds to the Midas. Chesed Gevur Tiferes v'Chulei. That's a Chod Yisod Malchus. That's the way that it looks like up there, God's spheres. V'kach, and so too, this is the structure of your soul, my friends. V'kach b'nefesh ha'adam. This is in the soul of man, not the soul of the giraffes, even though we love giraffes. And Racham al Kol Nasa, we have compassion to all of Hashem's creations. But we don't claim that a giraffe is equal to a human. We're never cruel, God forbid. There's a prohibition in the Torah against being cruel to animals. It's Sar Balachai. You cannot be cruel to an animal. That is forbidden. But we don't claim that a giraffe and a human is the same. A giraffe is different than a human. I don't just mean the neck part. I mean, the giraffe does not have a soul with these properties. It has a lower soul, an animating soul, but does not have a soul that can create and run worlds, like we mentioned. That's only unique to the human, to the Tzelem Elokim. That's why it's very, very important that we know that. And that even though a person might want to get married to their dolphin, which is something that's getting more and more popular, that doesn't mean that it's right. Really what that is a perversion of reality. And you know who did that? His name was Bilam. He had intimate relations with his donkey, and that was something which he felt was a very fine thing to do. And as we understand, as the Torah testifies about him, he was the most disgusting human being. It's a different existence entirely. We're explaining it in terms of the deeper difference. Besides the fact that that's on a simple level, there's a big difference. Let's even just talk about psychologically, emotionally. There's a lot of differences. We're talking about in Kabbalah, there's a serious difference that there'll never be able to be a relationship between them because they have two completely different souls. And a person says, no, but the dolphin gets me. It understands my needs. There may be something that the dolphin's there for you and it saved you when you're in the ocean, but it will never be the same essence. Only humans have that. That's what we're explaining now. So the soul of the human, which is coming from the 10 spheres of Leonis that God uses to create and run the worlds, we have that. That's why our actions matter. Our actions matter. And if a person doesn't use his actions properly, we set up courts because the justice needs to be served. So too it is with the soul of man. We divide up our powers into two main categories. Our intellectual powers, seichel, and midos, our emotional powers. Now we're going to start describing the 10 spheres, which is really the way the 10 spheres show up in us. I.e., we're going to go and do a spiritual anatomy session, literally cutting open and looking at the inner workings of the godly soul. Why are we doing that? Because first, when you know what kind of stuff is under the hood, like they say, you can drive the car, you can use the beast. You can use this powerful machine called your godly soul. And you also take it a lot more seriously that if this thing is creating worlds, I better tap into this. I want to use this for good. I want to help humanity. So look what he says. Haseichel koilel. What does your intellect include? Your intellect includes, koilel means includes, chochma, bina, vodas. I don't want anybody to translate chachma as wisdom, bina as understanding, and das as knowledge. I just find that confuses people more. Chachma means open inquiry, openness to the beyondness. Chachma means an openness to the beyondness of life. Bina means like real cognition, thinking things through. And das means to make intellectual ideas emotionally relevant to you. That's das. Which is very lacking in our generation. That people actually they have intellectual integrity, they're intellectually honest, and then they act, and they're emotionally connected to real intellectual ideas. Is cognition, is working things through. Lavin davar mitoch davar, yeah.
How can we make intellect to emotion? Doesn't emotion usually come before intellect?
So from the animal soul comes before intellect. From the godly soul, the driver's seat is always the intellect. That's one of the ways to know. Is my animal soul talking, my godly soul talking? The first step is, did this start with an intellectual decision? You catch yourself, like, at this moment, why am I here? The guy catches him, he's in the middle of watching some Netflix. So okay, stop, frame now. What got me to do this? So if you say, I've made a real intellectual decision that this is actually going to be the best thing for me right now. It's a great use of my time. I'm executive functioning. I'm really productive right now. Or even that he made any decision. And then, emotionally, he became excited about it. Then we would say that that's a decision from the godly soul. But if the guy said, the reason why I'm on the Netflix is because they just suggested it, and I don't know, I wasn't really thinking at all, I'm just kind of here, I just ended up here, then it's your animal soul running the show. What a horrible life. The animal soul is like dragging you into places that you're not deciding to go to. It's like putting a carrot in front of the donkey and just saying, follow me. And sadly, that's how a lot of humanity is living. They're just being dragged into situations without really thinking about them. They didn't plan their week ahead and say, I think I'm going to spend 4 hours just on Netflix on Tuesday night. But lo and behold, they woke up on Wednesday morning like, how did I get here? Like, I didn't plan for that to happen, to watch 7 hours of, football highlights or basketball highlights. I don't know. So that's the discerning factor. Was it starting from an intellectual decision? Then it's the power of the godly soul working? Or did it start from just an emotional reaction? Then it's the world of the animal soul. And a person should make a check, and I charge you guys with that. Make a check in your life. Maybe even set it on your phone or your watch. A couple times a day, just stop now. Set like a random time. Stop and ask, and right now, you're going to be doing something. Where did this decision come from? Use it as a way of like a feedback mechanism to see, am I making decisions for my godly soul or my animal soul? If it's for my godly soul, I should have a really good intellectual reason why I'm doing X, Y, or Z right this second. So that's the beginning. And notice, the Baal HaTanya is going to, when he talks about the animal soul, he's going to talk about the dark side, the darker side of man. He's going to mention the emotion, the reactive emotions first, and then the mind. Whereas here, the Rebbe, when he says that, talking about the godly soul, he first mentions the intellect, Chachmin Adas, and the Hamidos, and then it goes into the emotions. Ein Avos Hashem, loving God, Upachtoi, The Yirasai, what's the difference between Pachad and Yira? They're both fear. Pachad is a real emotional fear. Like a person might have Yira, he might have fear of a lion, of meeting a lion. Pachad is, he's in a lion's cage.
It's like scary.
It's much, the emotion. Right now, if a lion was here, like I'm afraid potentially of that, let's say. But you're not like, but if a lion was here, that's pachad. But what is that on the side of God? On the side of God, by the way, on the side of God, you don't get afraid of those things. On the side of God, what is pachad and yira? So yira is an intellectual fear of God. Pachad is that it brings a person like, he can't touch the light switch on Shabbos because his hand is shaking. It's a motive, it's like taking over him. For God, not for lions. Or your boss or whatever. Ulafaroi and Tiferes, which is all, we're talking about the godly soul, to bring beauty to God's kingdom. Why else do you have Tiferes? On the animal soul, of course, that's going to be just to beautify yourself. Why? For yourself. Why? For yourself. Like we were talking earlier about women maybe not wearing the nicest things. For attention. For themselves. That's called fallen tiferes. That's called beauty that's fallen. Beauty on the side of is that a person wants to beautify God. He beautifies the mitzvahs. Why? Because God is beautiful. That's why the Beis HaMikdash, the temple in Yerushalayim, is the most beautiful place in the whole world. And that's why people of God should be beautiful. Not for themselves, for God. The people of God should be beautiful. To bring back beauty. That's when you go to Bells. It's beautiful. Shuls should be beautiful places. You know the halacha is your shul should be more beautiful than your house. So anybody whose house is a lot nicer than where they daven, Hashem is going to have a discussion with them. Why was your house so nice? Why didn't you invest that extra $1 million in the shul? Oh, yeah, about that. I couldn't get a contractor. God's going to say, don't give me that. You made your house nicer than my house? That's why I love the Germazian shul. It's like gold. The whole thing is gold. It's gold. Amish gold. Beautiful. Amish. God's house is gold. It's beautiful. It's got to be nicer than your house. That's called ulafara, v'chula. V'chabad nikru imois u'makor lamidois. And Chabad, the Chacham Minadas, i.e., your intellect is called the mother, i.e., that which gives birth to your emotions. Ki hamidois had told us Chabad, because your emotions are a result of your intellectual processes in your godly soul. This is a very big Chabad line right there. How do you get to true emotions? You have healthy intellectual thoughts. How do you get to true emotions? Healthy intellectual thoughts. Which means, if a guy is having emotions, and it's not coming from an intellectual process, it means there's going to be something counterfeit about those emotions. But real emotions, real love, real passion, comes that a person's worked out intellectually. He's thought about things. We should be zeicha mamish to activate our Chabad, the Nefesh HaLekis, and the Midas Amen.